large patterns are one thing, ballrooms are very different. So I wanted to speak to those two items and tell you like use case for both of them because I feel like giving you the context behind all of this stuff will help you with support, right, going forward. So first things first is I drew out my room. Let me go ahead and turn on my dimensions. So they in the email, right? They gave us the size of the room, which was 113 by 99.6. Okay. So I popped some doors in there just from the image that was included in the email. I'm assuming these are 6-foot doors. I'm also assuming that between each set of these doors, there is a partition, but that is not going to play into the overall estimation, just for everybody's knowledge. Most partitions, right, movable partitions for ballrooms are ceiling mounted. And the intent for this is so that way the floor is uninterrupted versus having a track along the floor that ends up, messing with the flooring ends. Okay. Most of these are going to be either slab on grade or concrete pours, either way. It's going to be a concrete slab that they're putting it on. It's not going to be a wood substrate. So given that that is the case, it's going to be one of two ways. It's either going to be carpet, no pad, but in most instances, right, I would say probably 85% plus, it's going to be what's considered double stick, which means the carpet pad is glued to the substrate and then glue is spread on top of the pad and the carpet is glued directly to the pad. And the reason for that is with rolling loads, right? Has anybody had broadloom in their house, maybe like in a hallway, and you go to move and you have a dolly and you go to roll it down the hallway and it gets caught up because the carpet is loose? Because broadloom, it stretches, okay? The backing stretches. And so if you do not, especially in a really like large space like this, if they do not do double stick, which is the double gluing, you're going to have an instance where you're going to have those buckles. And so obviously for a huge convention space, that becomes a liability. Somebody's going to trip, somebody's going to fall, somebody's going to sue. So we double stick or we just glue it directly to the substrate. Now, what you got, Darren?
I just figured for everyone's reference, what is like the standard carpet install? Like I'm familiar with tack strips, but
Right.
okay.
That's what's called stretch-in. And so that would be any residential or light commercial sort of instance, right? Any standard commercial space for broadloom is going to be full spread glue, wall to wall. And then sometimes they do, which is what I have done here, which is an additional perimeter glue. And that's essentially so that way the carpet gets a little stretched, but then it's like extra tacked to the floor. Sometimes, especially like think college conference rooms where they want to like be really showy, what they'll end up doing is they'll do stretch in, but then when they do the stretch in, they will also glue it down. There's a lot of different use cases for how it's actually gone in, but ballrooms are very specific. So my husband, when he was an install 400 years ago, he did the very large ballrooms at Disney. So I pulled on his experience a lot and just made sure that my understanding was solid before going forward with trying to estimate this particular project. And I also reached out to some of my contacts that are manufacturers reps to find out as far as like what would be best use case for like roll tolerances, right? So without further ado, let me turn on some of my visual options so you guys can see what I have. So first I'm going to turn on my seams. You'll notice I started a full run from the doorway and let it bleed off towards the backside. Here is my product grid, which is my pattern repeat, right? So typically, if you have very large patterns, it's going to be the full shot, the full width of the product is going to be one of the pattern repeats. So what does that mean exactly for estimating? It means that when the roll gets damaged in freight, we have to make sure we put a width seam on here, or excuse me, a width margin. I can speak, I swear. A width margin on here, because we have to assume that those ends are going to be crunched in freight, which essentially means that the pattern will be either warped or the backing broken, therefore making that seaming impossible, and the installer will have to cut it off and then seam accordingly. Okay, so for this particular material, this is what I'm running. No T-seams. In a ballroom, you want the fewest number of seams. That means 0 T-seams, no head seams whatsoever. Does that make sense to everybody? Secondly, I have a cut margin on the length only, because that would be the only cut margin that would make sense. We're having full shots of product. And then I did put a width margin on there to account for freight damage. Now, 2 inches on a ballroom carpet is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly liberal. More accurately, you're probably going to need like a 6-inch width margin to account for that damage to ensure we have enough product going down. Because again, if 2 inches gets crunched, that means we're having to cut off 3 inches. That's only one side. 3 inches times 2, 6 inches total. Make sense? Okay. Last but not least, we have a single pattern first cut. We have roundup to pattern in length and the width. Okay. This is to ensure we have enough carpet going up to the installer to make sure we can see. And then notice I did change the roll cut length to the full length of the roll. This is because more than likely these rolls are going to be shipped full length to the site. They will sit there on site and acclimate before they are cut. They were going to be cut in place. They will not run this through a carpet machine and cut it prior to it going out to the site. Ballrooms are always field cut, because of the necessity for it to be exact. If we pre-cut and then we ship it out and the way they built it isn't exactly the same measurements, now we have to figure out what we're doing. This carpet, especially with really large pattern repeat, is going to be expensive. We're talking $60, $100, $150 per square yard. So expensive stuff. They don't want to waste it. Disney carpet always has the little Mickey Mouse ears, right? It's custom. I'm sure this product is probably custom colors. They made it specifically for them. We need to make sure it fits. So it always will be field cut. Max carry distance won't really matter, right? Because it's all going in the same room. So you can just leave that at whatever the system setting is. Roll cut option, if you have multiple ballrooms with the same product, then you can just do it by tab, right? Because they're gonna keep it as close as they can, just for dial-up purposes, making sure it all looks the same. Then I did do a linear length roundup of 1 foot, just to make sure that there was an additional little bit of leeway for the installer. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Okay. I want to make sure that everybody understands like the use case to understand why I did what I did, so that way we can look at what the waste is and then what the what the total would be at the end of the estimation. So as you can see, it's pretty much full shots all the way down. Again, we have it round up to the pattern, so it should end at the pattern, except for this last roll. Make sense, everybody? So we get 1 shot of product per roll. Yes, we have a little bit of waste at the end of each roll, but that's okay, because that's exactly how it would be in real life. And the reason why we would want it as full rolls is so that way if we need to shift it, right, to match that pattern, we have the leeway to do so. Now, the reason why I added the 1 foot head seam, right, linear length roundup, is due to the fact that the innermost turns, it's going to stretch that carpet. And so it makes the pattern unusable. Yeah, so pattern roll goods is difficult for a lot of people to comprehend because they just don't understand what it takes to put it together. And luckily, early on in my career, I worked out in the field. And so I watched it go in before I ever learned how to estimate it. So pulling from that experience has helped kind of wrap my head around what it means and how the system thinks of large pattern repeats versus real world, right? So the quantities that it provides are solid.
Anastasia, how did you get that pattern to show, the visual pattern to show over there?
Because I set the pattern on the rolled good. Let me slide this over. So I set the pattern in the rolled good, and then I just set a texture. And so
you can?
I just, yeah.
Okay.
So
I
just
didn't know we were able to even set. Wow. Okay. Okay.
surprise.
I didn't know that. The other question I have, Anastasia, is that, like, for example, in this situation, right, all the pattern seems to be kind of repeats regularly, right? What if there is a pattern drop where the pattern shifts, right? They're not exactly aligned, row and column, but they can be just shifting a little away from each other. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. At which point, right, if it is a true pattern drop, then it's going to be reported in the manufacturer's information, right? At which point we would enter the drop here.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, but given the fact that the image that was included in the email, that pattern was fairly regular. So
I see.
But this is where
we change that pattern drop to just show the impact on the visual.
Sure. So let's move it by 3 feet, this way. It would only be 1. So it's going to either be horizontal or vertical. Given the size of this, it would have to be length.
It can't be both, right? Okay.
Right. Yeah. It can only be 1. It'll only be 1 drop.
Right.
So if I move it.
Okay. Yeah. That's kind of the effect, right? Okay.
Right. The thing to mention, though, is not all drops are created equal. So this one, right, and in this system, it only drops it one way, right? It's only dropping it to the right. Some instances, well, install purposes, it becomes a stagger. So this third line would be in perfect line with the first one, and then the fifth one would match the first one, and so on. And so if you have a customer with that use case, dividers. Dividers, and then reposition the pattern so they can get the visual that it is they're looking for. Let me make a new room, and then I'm going to show you with what it looks like with a tile pattern, and then it'll make more sense. So resilient, let's final tile, this guy, add. Okay, so 12 by 24, right? We're going to simulate that 15 by 26 pattern repeat. It's almost the same ratio. We're going to design a pattern with it, right? And again, this is a brick pattern. So the first line would be the same as the third line, which is the same as the fifth line. Makes sense? It's staggered, goes back and forth. But a lot of times you'll see it in a third where it comes like this, and then it goes back. So instead of being a third offset, where it's always setting off to the one direction, it goes back and forth with just that one offset. So that's what I mean about when you have a rolled good. Hold on, let me save this really quickly.
Okay.
So this is what it looks like, but it would be obviously much bigger. You're going to have to use dividers where the seams are every other row so they can get that offset. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Okay.
Because
I
you're going to have
start
to manually move it back.
Okay.
The system can only offset it one direction.
Can you show us the divider option?
Sure. So let me turn off the texture so that way it's easier to see where the seams land, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to find where my second seam is. I'm going to match it perfectly. It has to be exact, okay? Otherwise, you're going to end up with a sliver of product. And then that will absolutely skew your quantities. So first things first, right? I have my first 2 runs and then see, apparently I got it off. Then I go back to my divider. So I'm not sure why it's giving me a weird sliver. Let me move it down. It should be 30 feet exactly.
Okay, so you are trying to further divide the 2 dividing lines.
Essentially, yeah. So what I did
Okay.
is it's just so that way it goes back and forth. So this line is in line with the third one,
Right. Right.
but it's doing this weird deal with the sliver.
Yeah, you don't have to do the exact, but it shows the workaround, right?
Yep. So then if I turn my texture back on,
Right. Right.
then you can see, right?
Oh, okay. Okay.
If
But
you
it has
actually have a picture of the product, you can actually move it around to get it to line up like it should be.
Absolutely. That's the beauty of tile texture. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you
Right.
they can send off drawings to their customer, to their design team, whoever it is that's doing their verification drawings, and it will look exactly how it will be in this space.
That's awesome. I love it.